Hi everyone, my name's Barclay Loggie and welcome to today's demo. We're going to be making a bracelet today, but it's not made as one piece. We make a few little motifs and we join them up together. Now I've been having a lot of fun with the Huichol style of beading, so that's what today's demo is. And the bracelet we're going to make is this little one here. Doesn't look so little, does it? But it's really pretty, made with 3 different colours. And you get this lovely netted, beaded netted effect on your flowers. I have done already a tutorial on some daffodil earrings, so I'll pop those in the description, the link to that in the description as well. All the colours I've used, all that kind of info will all go in the description. And I'm doing this one a little bit differently because I've had a lot of people asking me if my YouTube tutorials are available as PDF patterns, and I haven't done it until now because I thought, well, if you can get something for free on YouTube, why would you pay for a PDF pattern? So I'm going to trial it with this actual design. So not only have you got the YouTube instructions, but you will also have a PDF available to buy on my Etsy shop. And that'll have step-by-step photos and instructions to go with those photographs. We'll start by looking at our materials. I've got 3 different colours of size 11 seed beads. I've got the Duracoat Galvanised Champagne, the Duracoat Galvanised Silver, and this pretty colour here is called a fancy Frosted Pale Seafoam Green. So they're all 11s, they're all Miyuki beads. I've labelled them A, B, C because in the tutorial I will talk about picking up A beads, B beads or C beads. I've also got these little sparkly beads. These are True to Fire Polish. They're 2mm beads. I just wanted something alternative to my regular seed beads, and I've used them to connect the motifs together and to attach the clasp at the top. So that's the only place I've used True Twos. If you don't have True Twos, you can just use your seed beads. That's absolutely fine. I've got a sliding tube clasp here with 3 connection points, and that works really well for the width of one of the petals. I'm using 6-pound Fireline, but you can use your Wildfire, your Nymo thread, anything that is your favorite thread, because we tend to stick to what we know works. I've got a size 10 beading needle, but you could work with a 12, that's fine as well. And I've got something to end off my threads with. You're going to start by adding about 3/4 meter of your chosen thread onto your needle, so that's about 75 centimeters. And then you're going to pick up 12 of your colour A seed beads, and you're going to move them down towards the tail end of your thread. And you're just going to tie that tail thread off to the working thread securely so that nothing's going to come undone. So I did that by doing a normal overhand knot and then a surgeon's knot when we take the thread through the loop once and through the loop a second time and pull really, really tight on both ends. And then to just make sure that I'm not going to snip through that knot and cause everything to undo itself, I'm just going to pass the needle straight through the next 2 seed beads in that first round, and that just pulls the knot into the bead. And when I come to snip this tail thread off, I'm not going to slice through the knot. So that's the end of round 1. For round 2, I'm moving on to colour B. I've picked up 5 of my colour B. And you can see my thread is exiting the seed bead. I'm going to skip over one from round 1 and go through the next one. And again, I'm going to do this the whole way around my initial round. So I'm picking up 5 Bs. I'm going to skip over the very next A from round 1 and then pass through the following one. And I'm going to do that another 4 times to complete my circle. So 5 Bs, skip over the next one and pass through the following one. I've got the start of 3 petals and I've got another 3 to do, and I'll join you for the stepping up. So I'm about to add petal number 6 to round 2. I've picked up my 5 seed beads. I'm going to skip over one and I'm going to pass through the next one, and I'm going to step up through the first 2 beads that I added in petal 1 in the second round. So I am now ready to start round 3. You'll also notice I've just got rid of my tail thread there. So round 3, we're moving on to colour C, and again we're going to be picking up 5 of colour C. We're skipping over the middle bead in the first petal, and we're going to come down through the 4th bead. So if we look at the beads on petal 1, we've got 1, 2, our thread is exiting number 2, we've got 3 in the middle, and I'm now passing down through number 4. I now need to skip across to petal number 2, and I'm going to do that with 1A. So pick up 1A and pass your needle through the second bead of petal number 2. And we start again. Another 5 of your C's, skip over the middle bead of petal 2 and come down through the 4th bead of petal 2. And to link petal 2 to number 3, we're going to pick up 1A and pass our needle through the second bead of petal 3. So you're going to continue that the whole way around, and I'll join you to add on the last section and step up to the next one. To finish round 3, I've just added my last 5 C's on petal 6, and I now need to bridge the gap between petal 6 and petal 1. So that's one of my colour A through the second bead of petal 1, and that's from my round 2, but I'm also going to step up through the first 2 beads we added in round 3. So through those first 2 beads of petal 1. And now we're ready to start round 4. Don't worry if some of your petals are looking more square and others are looking more pointed. You can see how the square netting forms, so don't be too perturbed about it. As we continue, things will be pulled into place. Just make sure that you're keeping a fairly tight tension. I tend to put my beadwork down and flatten it like this with my fingers, and then just give an extra tug to make sure that you're keeping a tight tension on this. You don't want to see any thread hanging about in the netting. So we're ready to start round 4, and we're going to be picking up 5 of our colour C, and just as we did in the previous round, we're going to skip over that middle one and pass our needle down through the 4th bead of petal 1. And the gap between petal 1 and petal 2 is a lot bigger now, so to bridge that gap we're going to pick up 3 beads, 1C, 1A, 1C, and we're going to pass up through the second bead of petal 2. Then we're going to pick up our 5 to go over the top of petal 2 in colour C, pass down through the 4th bead. Remember, we skip over that middle one. Then I need to join petal 2 to petal 3 with 3 beads, 1C, 1A, 1C, and pass up through the second bead of petal 3. And I'm ready to do my 5 over the top of petal 3, and so I'm going to continue, and I'll rejoin you to do the step up into round 5. I've just added my last 5 around the top of petal 6, and I'm now about to bridge the gap between 6 and 1. So I've picked up my 3 beads, my CAC, and I'm going to pass up through the second bead of petal 1, and that's from the previous round, from round 3, and up through the first 2. I've only gone through 1 there, but you want to go up through the first 2 beads that you added on petal 1 in round 4, and that is your step up. So round 4 complete, and you're ready to move on to round 5, which starts just as the others have done, with 5 C's. Skip over the middle one and come down the 4th bead, through the 4th bead on petal 1. Now this is slightly different as we bridge across from petal 1 to petal 2. We're going to make use of that A bead that's sitting there in the middle. So if you pick up 3 C's and you pass your needle through the A bead from round 4, and then another 3 C's, and pass your needle up through the second bead of petal number 2. And again, just remember to constantly pop your work down on your mat and flatten it with your fingers. So I'm now across at petal number 2, and I'm going to pick up my 5 C's that are going to go over the top of number 2. That one doesn't want to jump on. So skip over the middle one and pass down through the 4th bead of petal number 2. And now we're going to that middle A with 3 C's, and then we want another 3 C's to go up to petal number 3, and we're passing through the second bead of petal number 3. And again, just always pulling on that tension and flattening your work out. So I'm going to continue the whole way around. The next step I've got to take is 5 C's to come round the top of petal number 3, and then I'm going to be making use of that A bead in the center. Almost at the end of round 5, I've added my last 5 around the top of petal 6. I've added 3 to that middle A, and I've now picked up 3, and I'm joining petal 6 back to petal 1 through the second bead of the first petal from round 4 and up through the first 2 beads like we would normally step up for the next round of round 5. Now again, just pop your work down on your mat and press it flat. Make sure that no ends are curling up for you. And we're ready to go on round 6. We've stepped up through 2, but for round 6 we're going to pass through beads 3 and 4 as well. So your step up is actually through 1, 2, 3, 4 beads. And this time I'm going to be picking up 4 of my C's. And then I want to come through the middle bead of those first 3. Now as you pull through, it pulls it into that neat little triangle shape or square shape, including the gold bead. So through the middle one, and I've got a little square that's formed on the end here. I've now got to come across from petal 1 to petal 2. I want to come across to this middle one here. But I don't want any thread showing, so again I'm going to pick up 1A, and then I'm going to pass straight through that middle one on the side of petal 2. And then I'm going to pick up another 4 C's. And I'm going to pass through the second bead of petal number 2. and that gives me that square shape on that side. Now I'm going to pass through beads 3 and 4 on petal 2 before I pick any more up. And then it's 4 C's through the middle one of these 3. Now I need to go across to petal 3, and I'm going to do that with 1A, and I'm going to pass through the middle one that's on the side of petal 3. Then it's 4 C's, and up through the second bead of petal 3. And before I continue, I'm going to pass through beads 3 and 4 on petal 3, and then I'll be picking up my 4 and coming through the middle one of these 3. So here you can see one full petal, that sort of squared off shape that you've got on the end. So I'll join you when you're ready to step up, and your motif will be complete. To finish off my motif, I've just added my A bead between petal 6 and petal 1. I've picked up 4 C's, and I'm going to go through the second bead and through that middle bead, so of that middle section of petal 1. And that's where I'm going to leave it as the motif completed. So I've got 2 where I've used A, B, C. I would then swap B and C around and make another 2. Here they come. And then swap your numbers or your letters around again to make a 5th one that is totally different from the others. So 5 of these motifs together will give you round about 6.5 inches. Now, depending on how you decide to join them together, I'm going to show you the way I do it and what clasp you do. This could land up being a very big bracelet, so you want to keep things quite tight and close together. Before I show you my way of joining them together, you need to decide, are you going to join them up when they are positioned like this, or if you turn them slightly, are you going to join them up positioned this way? So you've got a few decisions to make. The other thing I wanted to say was, how beautiful would these look as individual earrings or individual pendants, or these stitched onto a tiara headband for a flower girl at a wedding. So you've got lots and lots of options with these, but you need to see the way that it works for you, and I will show you the way that I'm going to finish it. If I was going to connect my motifs together and I had them this way, I've got 2 possible connection points. I've got this lower corner here, corner to corner from left to right, and then this across the top here from this corner to that corner. I've decided to join mine this way, so sort of square on, and that way I've got one connection point, and I'm using the middle bead of the middle square on the left hand side, and I'm joining it to the middle bead of the middle square on the left. But I'm going to just rotate this because I want this thread to be in the right place for joining on my 3rd motif. And I'm going to do the join with my True 2 fire polish, those lovely little sparkly 2mm in size fire polish beads. And I'm going to do that by picking up one and passing through the middle bead of the 2nd motif. And then I'm going to pick up another one, and I'm going to pass back through that middle bead on the 1st motif. So I will have this little bit of added sparkle at intervals all the way down as I join my motifs together. Now I could end off this thread, or I could weave it through to this side to attach one end of my clasp. So if I bring the clasp in again just to show you, you'll see how well it fits now. These sliding tube clasps don't take up much room, so when we measured it, it was quite a long beaded length, so I want something that's narrow. It's got 3 connection points, and I can go from this corner bead, the middle bead, and that corner bead, and just attach it on. So I'm going to get myself round to this side to do the ready to add my clasp. I've come all the way round with my working thread, and I'm exiting the 2 beads that form the side of this petal that I'm going to attach my clasp onto. And when I attach a clasp like this, I always leave it whole. I don't separate it, because there is a chance that when I come to attach the other side, I flip it over and then it's never going to go back together again. So it's just a little tip to keep it closed and stitched on that way. And I'm going to keep it simple using the 2mm fire polish. I don't really want anything to detract from the flowers. The flowers are doing all the talking. So just as this was a simple connection, we're going to make it a simple connecting of the clasp as well. Should say at this stage, there are no rules to this. This is just the way I'm doing it. If you need to make your bracelet a bit longer at this stage, you'll be adding more beads than I'm doing. So I'm going to pick up one of my fire polish beads, and I'm going to pass through that first connecting loop, and I'm going to pick up another fire polish bead. That one's got a bit stuck in there. There we go, there it is. So pick up one more fire polish, and I'm not going to go through the same bead. I'm going to hold this a bit closer to the camera so you can see. So my thread is exiting that second bead on this right hand side here. I'm now going to pass through the beads to the left of that, and I want to be exiting the middle bead of the middle square. Pull that through. If I pop it back down on the bead mat so you can see again. So my first connection point is complete. Now, as I said, there are no rules for this. You do it the way that suits your clasp. This is what's suiting my sliding tube clasp. I'm now at the point for my middle connection point, so I'm picking up another fire polish, and again I'm going to come through the clasp, or the connection loop, from the back to the front, and then I'm going to pick up another fire polish, and this time, if I bring it a bit closer for you to see, I'm going to go through the same bead, that middle bead, but from the opposite side. So the thread was exiting the left, and I'm now coming through it from the right. And I don't want this to get caught up. And if I pop that down again for you to see where it's flat, you'll see I've got my second connection point there, and it's just very simple. I'm just seeing that fire polish on the end. Now I need to be coming out of this bottom corner here, through those next 2 seed beads, and I'm now at that bottom corner. I'm going to pick up one of my fire polish beads, and I'm going to pop up through that bottom loop from the back to the front, and again pick up another fire polish bead, and this time I'm going to come down the 2 beads that form that edge, and when I pull that all the way through, I've got my clasp attached at 3 points, but just neatly. There's no fuss and bother about it. I then end off this thread, thread my needle onto this one, and be ready to attach my middle motif exactly the same way as we did that one. I just wanted to pop back at the end, 1, to say thank you so much for watching, but 2, to show you the completed bracelet, and just to remind you of something that I mentioned at the very beginning. I'm getting a number of people now who are asking if my YouTube tutorials can be made available as PDFs. Everybody learns in different ways. So I'm trialing it with this one. So you've got this, the video, but I will also be releasing a PDF tutorial for it in my Etsy shop, and I will pop the link for that in the description too. So thank you for watching. I hope you have some fun with your flowers, and I'll be back soon with something new.